Hi, I'm Matthew Lapp, host of Matthew Lapp Train Guy Segment Show. Also today in this segment, I'm at the Colorado Railroad Museum in Golden, Colorado, and continuing episode 158 with part 3. What you see right behind me is Manitou and Pikes Peak 1.
Manitou and Pikes Peak 1 was built by Baldwin in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in 1890 and is the 108/35th steam locomotive built by that factory and is an 042 cog type steam locomotive. This is the original Manitou and Pikes Peak steam locomotive built and is the oldest one built and the oldest surviving one. It was originally named John Hurlburt and was built to go up steeper grades like other cog trains built were. This one was used on the cog railway between Manitou Springs, Colorado and the top of the summit of Pikes Peak. The locomotive didn't have the number 1 till 1893. Then later it was retired and was donated to the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Then in 1979 it was donated to the Colorado Railroad Historical Foundation and was then moved to the Colorado Railroad Museum in Golden, Colorado, where it is today. It also sat adjacent to the parking lot till 2022 when it was moved to the present spot on the museum grounds, as if it looks like as if it's climbing a steep grade as it was meant to do all those years ago. And the hill it's standing on is like its natural habitat as well, as if it looks like it's climbing a steeper grade. Also, Manitou and Pikes Peak 1 is one of 4 surviving cog steam locomotives from the Manitou and Pikes Peak Cog Railway, and this one can even be found here at the Colorado Railroad Museum in Golden, Colorado, where it is today.
What you see right behind me is Westside Lumber Company 14.
Westside Lumber Company 14 was built by the Lima Locomotive Works in Lima, Ohio in 1916 and is the 28/35th steam locomotive built by that factory and is a 3-truck Shay type steam locomotive. It was originally used by the Sierra Nevada Wood and Lumber Company in Hobart Mills, California and was originally numbered 10. When the Sierra Nevada Wood and Lumber Company went bankrupt, it was then sold to a scrap dealer, Hyman Michaels, in Chicago, Illinois in 1937, but it didn't get scrapped. In 1940, it was then sold to the Westside Lumber Company in Tuolumne, California, and it was renumbered 14 and operated on the Westside Lumber Company. Then, in 1958, it was used by the Pickering Lumber Corp., but it was still lettered Westside Lumber Company and kept the number. Also, the locomotive was used as a logging locomotive for many years. Then, in 1965, it was then sold to Hall-Willmunder, which would be used by the Camino Cable and Northern Railroad in Camino, California, and it was renumbered 4. Then, in 1974, it was sold to the Colorado Central Narrow Gauge Railroad in Central City, Colorado, and had its number back to 14. It operated there till 1981 when it was then moved to the Georgetown Loop Railroad in Silver Plume, Colorado. It ran at the Georgetown Loop Railroad until 2004 when the Ashby's operating contract ceased on the railroad, and the locomotive was then moved to the Colorado Railroad Museum in Golden, Colorado, where it operated on the museum grounds till about 2009 and is currently parked in storage at the museum, but not actually owned by the museum though. In late 2021, it was then being repainted all round. In February the following year, the project was completed, and the name Rosa was pasted on the side of the cab, which it is named after Rosa Ashby as well. Also, Westside Lumber Company 14 is one of 7 remaining Westside Lumber Company Shays surviving today, and they're all 3-truck Shays, and 14 is currently stored at the Colorado Railroad Museum in Golden, Colorado, along with number 12, where they are today.
What you see right behind me is Manitoun Pikes Peak 7.
Manitoun Pikes Peak 7 was built by the Colorado Midland Shops in Colorado Springs, Colorado in 1938 and is a gas diesel rail car. This car is believed to be the very first internal combustion powered cog railway vehicle on Earth as well. This car was built for the purpose of having a smaller piece of equipment to run that was cheaper to operate when the off-season occurred. Originally, General Motors powered with 707 gasoline engines. It was repowered by Cadillac V8 in the early 1950s and finally with a Cummins diesel in the 1990s. Also, this locomotive was once used by the Manitoun Pikes Peak Railroad for a number of years, which runs between Manitou Springs and the top of Pikes Peak. Then later on, it was retired and was put in storage at the Manitoun Pikes Peak Railroad for a while. Then in 2019, it was donated to the Colorado Railroad Museum in Golden, Colorado by the Manitoun Pikes Peak Cog Railway, where it can be seen on display today. In 2022, it was relocated to this spot near the wooden fence, as if it looks like it's climbing a steep grade, as to tell you how it was meant to climb grades very steep that conventional trains wouldn't be able to climb as well.
What you see right behind me is Union Tank Line 55172.
Union Tank Line 55172 was built in 1910 and is a tanker car. It was used to haul liquids such as crude from Farmington, New Mexico and Chama, New Mexico to refinery in Alamosa, Colorado. It was then renumbered 8164. Then years later, it was then acquired by the Colorado Railroad Museum in Golden, Colorado, where it is preserved today, and sometimes it is hauled around the museum grounds when trains are operating as well.
What you see right behind me is Union Tank Line 88125.
United Tank Line 88125 was built in 1907 and is a tanker car. It was originally numbered 12770. It was used to haul liquids such as crude from Farmington and Chama, New Mexico to a refinery in Alamosa, Colorado. Later, it was renumbered 88125. Also, during September 1953, the car suffered a derailment in Lobato, New Mexico, and laid on its side on the ground. Then later it was repaired. Then it was retired and it was then acquired by the Colorado Railroad Museum in Golden, Colorado, where it is preserved today, and sometimes it is hauled around the museum grounds whenever trains are operating as well.
Okay, you can see right here is a wigwag signal that came from Delhi, Colorado. And also this was used along the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe, who own signals like these for crossing lights. And also, this one was the last one in service on the BNSF Railroad, who generously gave it to the museum. Then it eventually made its way here, and also it's active. So if you go right here, this is where you'll find the button. Press it, and it will act like so. And bell rings. And that's how it's done. What you see right behind me is Denver and Rio Grande 0578.
Denver and Rio Grande 0578 was built by the Denver and Rio Grande Railroad Shops in Denver, Colorado in 1886 and is an 8-wheeler bobber caboose. Originally, it was built as a 4-wheel caboose and was originally numbered 94, and it was used on trains in the past on the narrow gauge portion of the Denver and Rio Grande Railroad and was used as the office for the train crew. Then it was rebuilt in 1918 with trucks and was later renumbered 0578. Then in 1952 the car was retired and was purchased by the Rocky Mountain Railroad Club. Later it was acquired by the Colorado Railroad Museum in Golden, Colorado, where it is preserved today.
What you see right behind me is Uinta Railway 50.
Uinta Railway 50 was built by American Car and Foundry in St. Charles, Missouri in 1904 and is a combine car. Originally, this car may have been numbered 1. In 1924, it was renumbered 50, and it has been used on the remote line that ran from Mac, Colorado into eastern Utah for many years. In 1934, it was rebuilt with a rounded roof and steel sheathing. Then, when the railroad was abandoned in 1939, it was then retired and body was sold and was used as a storage shed in Grand Junction, Colorado. Then, years later, it was then acquired by the Colorado Railroad Museum in Golden, Colorado, and it was soon going under restoration. And then in 2018, it was completely restored, and also it sometimes gets carried around on the museum's tracks and or just stand stationary as well.
What you see right behind me is Denver and Rio Grande B8.
Denver and Rio Grande B8 was built by the Jackson and Sharp Car Company in Wilmington, Delaware in 1879 and is a business car. Originally, this coach was built as a baggage car and originally numbered 1. Then in 1888, it was rebuilt to being a business car by the Denver and Rio Grande Railroad in Denver, Colorado, and was renumbered B8 and had served as an office and home for the railroad officials out on the line and used on passenger trains for the Denver and Rio Grande Railroad as well. In 1972, it was purchased by the Uinta Railway and had it retaining its original number and used on the remote line from Mac, Colorado into eastern Utah. Then the railroad was abandoned in 1939 and for 20 years it sat in Grand Junction, Colorado after the railroad's abandonment. Then years later it was then acquired by the Colorado Railroad Museum in Golden, Colorado, and it has been going under some restoration that was starting in 2011 till 2018. And today it can be seen preserved here at the Colorado Railroad Museum in Golden, Colorado, where it can be seen today. And also, it is considered to being the oldest surviving narrow gauge passenger car in America as well.
What you see right behind me is Denver and Rio Grande 6532.
Denver and Rio Grande 6532 was built by American Car and Foundry in St. Charles, Missouri in 1940 and is a flat car. This car was originally built as a high-side gondola that was standard gauge, then converted into a flat car later on and was used for many years on the Denver and Rio Grande Railroad narrow gauge line. And when it was a gondola, it might have been used on the standard gauge portion of the Denver and Rio Grande. And when it was a flat car in service on the railroad on freight trains in the past and hauled loads that a flat car like this one may have hauled in the past. Then later on it was retired and it was then acquired by the Colorado Railroad Museum in Golden, Colorado, and also it was converted to being a riding car in 2015. People even rode this car until about 5 years later or so. It was converted back to its original configuration. Today, it is preserved here at the Colorado Railroad Museum in Golden, Colorado, where it is today, and sometimes it is carried around on the museum tracks as well.
What you see right behind me is Denver and Rio Grande.
Denver and Rio Grande 3011 was built by Electromotive Division in LaGrange, Illinois in 1962 and is the 272 22nd diesel locomotive built by that factory and is a GP30 type diesel locomotive. This locomotive spent its life working for the Denver and Rio Grande Railroad on the standard gauge line and was used to haul freight on the railroad, and it was even used for hauling passenger trains as well. It was even used in the 1973 movie Runaway and was the lead locomotive. Then in 1994, it was then purchased by Omnitrax till it was donated to the Colorado Railroad Museum in Golden, Colorado in 2003. It then sat at the Coors Brewing property and awaited to be moved to the site. Then in 2004, it was then moved to the museum. In 2022, it was being repainted and had a lot of windows and light bulbs screwed that needed to be replaced. Today, it is preserved here at the Colorado Railroad Museum in Golden, Colorado, where it is on display today, and also you can even ring the locomotive's bell as well. And unfortunately, I do not have a demonstration video of me ringing the bell because around the time I made this video, I was unable to get up close to it.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed learning about trains with me today in Matthew Lapp Train Guy segment show. Also, I hope to see you all again in the next segment, and if you didn't subscribe to my channel yet, the subscribe button is just down below the video screen. And if you didn't give the Facebook page a like yet, here's where you'll want to go. And if you didn't give the Instagram page a follow yet, here's where you'll want to go as well. Also, be sure to get your merch at teesprings.com. The link is in the description box below, along with the Facebook and Instagram pages. And as always, remember to subscribe to the Train Guy. So this is Matthew Lapp, host of Matthew Lapp Train Guy segment show, signing out. Until next time, all aboard!